I call the Right Honourable Winston
Speaker, over
P1.
29 finance houses have collapsed, owing $3 billion to mainly older New Zealanders. Hundreds of thousands face affordability problems. And this
Point of order, the Honourable Member Rodney Hyde.
We were pulled up vigorously by the Speaker in even discussing aspects of the Spencer Trust. If that's the rule, then it's impossible for the Right Honourable Winston Peters to be getting up and talking about elderly people in finance houses, because the rule that was applied by the person that was in the chair to me was that I couldn't even discuss what I knew about the Spencer Trust.
Thank you, Mr Hyde. Can I just say that Mr Peters has only just stood up. He's been speaking for about 8 or 9 seconds, and the Speaker ruled that debate must stay to discussing the report. So the member must discuss the report.
But can I... Point of order.
Point of order, the Right Honourable Winston
I'm just trying to start my speech and provide the environment for it, and this is a deliberate attempt to interrupt a member's speech. I only spoke for 9 seconds.
That's right.
So can I start again?
Yes, you can, Mr.
Thank you. Over 29 finance houses have collapsed, owing $3 billion to mainly older New Zealanders. Hundreds of thousands face affordability problems, and the ship New Zealand is sailing in international troubled waters. Against this backdrop has been an attack on an MP and his party, premeditated, orchestrated, and relentless in the hope of bringing him, his party and the government down. New Zealanders have become heartily sick of it. Every minute and every page wasted on this obsessive character assassination is another minute, hour or day, or paragraph, page or newspaper diverted from the real issues facing all of us. This is a road seriously walked before, whether it be the Maori loans affair, the BNZ bailout, the BNZ sale, the wine box. The constant hymn of hate has been consistent in the allegations of liar, deceiver, manipulator or populist, demagogue or cultism. The allegations have failed, of course, but what's common in those events is that there never was an admission of who was right and who deserved an apology. This is not important, nor is personal vindication in the pursuit of worthy causes when one seeks to march to a different drum. The issue here is that if an MP did not know, how could he declare if a declaration was back then, in law, in fact, required? My gratitude goes to those members of Parliament on the committee who approached the inquiry with an open mind and resolved on a high standard of proof. That is a standard that cannot descend to a judgment based on what most probably occurred. Those MPs left their politics at the door. They did not try the case through the media like my political foes. There are no clear guidelines in any of the standing orders and no precedent or reference to any past case. It's fundamental to our law for centuries that one cannot be convicted of an offence not in the law. Further, there cannot be a case, retrospective legislation or retrospective rules and then justice. In our system, an offence is only applicable when the law or rules have been put in place. What is contemplated here is a new standard being applied which did not exist in 2005 or 6. You're being asked to accept that under this new moral requirement, a declaration should have been made to the Registrar of Pecuniary Interests. If there are new moral obligations, it is clear that every MP should be very careful about that, because for some lives, their lives will become dynamite, and I promise you, very soon. The committee had set out to prove pecuniary benefit to an MP on the basis of a second draft report, and page 13 they said this: an election petition which, if it had been successful, would have been of benefit to Mr Peters in terms of both political capital and a higher level of funding available to an elected MP. The committee, or some members, persisted with that view of the law. I wrote 4:30 yesterday afternoon to say that that advice was wrong. Again, I was brought to their attention. Over-expenditure means disqualified MP, means vacant seat, means by-election. The committee was advised that the argument that Peters would have got political capital and extra resources at the return of him as a Tauranga MP was utterly fallacious. In the final report, the committee on page 14 acknowledges that. They dropped all those words out and say political benefit to Mr Peters. You see how they predicated pecuniary interest? on a false belief in the law, even though there are 7 lawyers in the National Party. That, in a nutshell, is it. The receptacle one needs to contain specious argument. So we have today a rule made retrospectively, applied retrospectively, and placed before a parliament hitherto priding itself in its opposition to retrospective legislation. To single an MP out, whilst ignoring many MPs facing legal costs that others have contributed to, in whole or in part, is demonstrably, palpably unfair. It must mean that one rule applies to all MPs and not just one. To do otherwise simply violates natural justice. It's to censure an MP when others in the same circumstances, of others helping their legal costs,